It's a pleasure to have you all together here, and you know, pleasure to see how much joy is between this cast and crew of 61st Street.
Can you tell, Daniel? Can you tell?
Yeah, which is a can be an intense drama about the criminal justice system in Chicago. I'd just like to introduce everyone we have here. We've got Courtney B. Vance, actor and executive producer. We've got actor Andrene Ward-Hammond, executive producer and writer J. David Shanks, and executive producer Alana Mayo. I think, you know, Courtney, I'll start with you. This isn't your first time telling a story about, you know, race in the justice system. What did you think about the show's approach when you read the scripts?
You know, I read 2 scripts, and then I met with J. David and Peter Moffat, and basically I didn't ask him about nothing else, or as Andrene says, nothing else. I didn't, whatever, Mr. C. I didn't ask him about anything. I just said, basically, I wanted to gauge their level of commitment, because I knew based on these, I mean, there were 14 other scripts, and I knew that it was going to take all of us, I mean, as a company, to come together to put these things, to make this show sing. And there really is no sense in doing something like this if you don't really want to get underneath the material. And I was so encouraged by their commitment. I said yes. And then the question was how do we do this? You know, the first 2 episodes were helmed by Marta Cunningham, but then Marta Cunningham had to go do other things. And so Andrene challenged us and said, we got to read these scripts. How are we going to read these scripts together? So that we can, you know, get our notes to Mike, to David, and to Peter, and then they get their notes back to us, and then so that we lock the script and give it to the director. So it really was, you know, and then everybody started to lock in, you know, cast, crew, no problems with COVID. Everybody was on board with all of that. And, you know, so I was just, you know, and we're coming back to shoot something there in the summer, and I'm trying to get everybody back together, you know, because we worked so well together. So, you know, that's, to me, that's a model of how projects should work, which is from the top down. We just had a meeting yesterday, and I was like, look, I don't want to do this if we ain't on the same page. If we ain't on the same page, and if we're not trying to work together and we don't have each other's back, I'm out. And it's not worth it. It's too hard. And so that, you know, David and Alana, I just, you know, hats. That's it, Alana. What you think, Alana?
How could I possibly add to that, Daniel? I feel like you have another question.
Oh,
no,
he's good.
Ain't she good?
Ain't she good? She don't play.
Well, I mean, Alana, to ask, you know, to follow up on this this group feeling that you had on this project when you're dealing with such intense subject matter, like how important is that kind of environment to have where everyone has each other's backs?
I think it's everything. I agree with Courtney. You know, moving forward, it's almost as if you can't go back, right? I can't think about doing another production in a different way than this from really start to finish. You know, Michael B. Jordan and I were introduced to Peter. At this point, I can't remember, but it must be 3+ years ago when he had a pilot and an outline for the season. And from day one, Peter really understood for this show specifically to achieve the ambition of it, which is both to do this very nuanced and challenging and difficult examination of the criminal legal system in Chicago, and also to tell, you know, the thing that I might be most proud of, a really authentic story set on the South Side of Chicago, set in a community that hasn't really been depicted, I think, accurately in mainstream media. I think he understood from day one he had to bring more voices in the room. So we took the writer's room with David very early to Chicago and walked in the neighborhoods, and the writer's room was on 61st Street in the neighborhood, and spent time inside of the courthouse, and spent time inviting people that just were Chicagoans into the writer's room to contribute. And I think that spirit carries through production, and with the leadership of Courtney and this incredible cast and David, and through what has been for me just such a joy to now be able to talk about the show with people, with audience who I think feel invited into this conversation too. So I think it's essential. It's a high bar. We don't always get the privilege of working with this group of people, and really it's a spectacular group of people, but you don't usually get this ethos. But for this show to be produced and to come out the way that it did, I think it had to be done this way.
Yeah, and David, to bring the writers' room to Chicago. Of course, Chicago plays such an important role, as a setting for the show. And you yourself are a Chicago native, and a former member of the Chicago Police Department. Like, what kind of point of view did what did you hope that point of view would help bring to this telling of the story?
Authenticity. Just have to say, without question, was a benchmark, for us. We needed to make authenticity a pillar for the show. And in order to do that, everyone had to be all in. We had to do our homework. During our research and during the writing process, Alana mentioned that we spent time at 26 in California, and we would spend hours in the courtroom watching justice, put that in quotes, be dispensed. We would get there in the morning when the court doors would open, right? And there would be a line of people that extended for literally 3 blocks around the corner, of Black and brown faces, of people waiting to have their cases heard in this building. And it's literally just a conveyor belt. Get them in, get them out, get them in, get them out, get them in, get them out. And the majority of these defendants who don't know much about just the legal system, what their options are, the public defenders are completely overworked and taxed to the point of exhaustion. They probably average maybe 4 to 6 minutes of actual face time with their clients that they're representing before they go before a judge, and then have to make a decision about the next, in some cases, between 7 and 15 years of their lives, right? It's heavy. It's really, really heavy. And I think it's a piece of the criminal justice system that we really have to examine and take a look at. And it's a conversation that we have to continue. And to be true to that level of authenticity, not only did we sit in the courtroom, but we talked with young people in Chicago. Our writer's room was actually in a place called the Invisible Institute. And their mandate is to basically document the experiences of young people on the South Side, with law enforcement. They sit and they have recorded interviews of young people, and it's about trying to change the perception and to better the relationship between the community and law enforcement. And just so that, people don't think that this is a completely one-sided conversation with just the public's view of law enforcement, we spoke with officers. We had officers, from the Chicago Police Department come and visit our writers' room, that spoke with us extensively, about their on-the-job experience right now. So it just wasn't my perspective as a former Chicago police officer. We did our homework, and I take great pride, in that, because we didn't want any notes of, well, that's not accurate and that's not the way, that would happen. For dramatic purposes and creative purposes and storytelling purposes, of course, yes, we took some creative license with some things. But by and large, those are things that are happening right now, in Chicago, unfortunately. And we look at Chicago as basically a microcosm for the rest of the country. So again, what we ultimately wanted to do with 61st Street was to paint a very accurate picture about what's happening in communities right now of marginalized people. And I think that we did a really good job with that. And the other thing that I want to just definitely make sure that we make note of our crew, our cast, and thanks to Alana Mayo and the team at Outlier, who insisted that we have an inclusion, a diversity and inclusion writer with our production, which meant that, we couldn't, just hire the run-of-the-mill mainstream folks who have a lock on all of the, positions and jobs within our production. We went out of our way, to make sure that, we represented, all marginalized communities. Our cast and crew was very reflective of what Chicago looks like in real time. And I'm extremely proud of that. And I'm also extremely proud of the fact that, 166 days of production and not once did we shut down for COVID. And we shot this series for the most part on location on the South Side in Chicago. So incredible opportunities. And I'm really proud of the work. And, again, we just told an authentic story. That was most important, in my opinion.
Andrene, your character Norma, she's so much at the center of a lot of what's going on. Her son is accused of murder. Her other son is, terrorized by the police. She's harassed by the police. What did you think about her when you read her, and how do you prepare for some of that emotional material that comes up for her?
It was important. That's what it was, right? It was important.
You ain't finna get on my accent. It was important, and it's not far removed from my experiences as a mom in the South. I, born and raised in New York, but I live in Georgia, and I find myself constant, and it's unfortunate because it's a very seated, rested space where you are constantly fearful that your child won't make it home. I mean, I have a little girl, and just the idea that even the two young men who were just the actors in the show, but we have a really close relationship, felt like my kids, felt like young men that I needed to protect. And my daughter has had experiences with officers here in Georgia. I've had my experiences with it. Black people in general, Black and brown people don't have the best experience with officers. So I don't see me not being able to tap into the emotion, the fear of, or the possibility of something happening to either of those boys. And it's that fight or flight kind of thing. I want to make sure that they're good. In any God forbid situation, I know what I would tell my little girl to do, which would be to get out of there. Because I don't think that in any form, although there are great officers out there, and I don't know if there is, because I have, my daughter's father is a former Marine, firefighter. I've got cousins that are COs, POs. Like one of my best friends is a lieutenant. Like it's. I know that they're out there, but the overall scope of what it looks like and what fear does to people, we are not often in safe spaces. So I was reading it. It wasn't hard to tap into, but I think it's a story that needs to be told. And I love being that person. I'm grateful that Peter saw enough in me to embody Norma. So.
Hey, Daniel, there's something that I would really love to add to what Andrene is saying about just her particular performance. And I have to say it and just make sure that everybody understands this. Courtney B. Vance, brilliant. And there's sort of a expectation, that there's going to be a level of excellence with anything that he touches. But Andrene Ward-Hammond was the literal emotional heartbeat of this entire first season. You could not help, because I stood at the monitor every single day and watched every single take, and not a false beat. And if you weren't emotionally, gripped and wrapped, as the crew was, some walking away, wiping tears, watching this woman work, she gave us everything that she had with every single take. And, I just, in this space, I just want to say thank you, Andrene, really, because again, my social media and emails and texts and calls. Oh my God, I know that woman. I am that woman. David, thank you guys so much for giving us voice and giving us, a person in which we could see ourselves and we could really clearly identify our plight. And it was expressed in a truthful manner. It's hard to watch, yes, but it's necessary in order to further a conversation. So,
and I would say that performance and Bentley's and
yes,
Tosin and
yes.
Emily, everyone everyone bought in to what you and Peter and Alana set up for us to buy into. So if that hadn't been set up, if the space wasn't safe, then nobody would have been able to would have wanted to release themselves and their vulnerability. Thank you. So my hat's off. My hat goes off to you two and Peter and Abstentia for and AMC, Jeff Freilich, and was there every day as well, for setting the space, setting the tone, and then backing it up, not just setting it up and saying, yeah, Court, Andrene,
Yeah.
we're gonna do that, and then leave us high and dry. You guys were right there.
Yeah.
Andrene, her
He was there.
was because it was a safe space, and thank you for that.
Yeah.
And the story has a lot of moving parts, twists, like characters, a lot of subplots going on around this case, the central case. David, was that a complex, to balance all of that in the writer's room, to kind of plot it all out, how this story is going to unfold?
I think what we wanted was we wanted it to be a reflection of life, right? And timing is never right with anything. Here we have Franklin Roberts, who takes on the case, of perhaps not just a career, but a lifetime, right? But he's doing it in the face of a cancer diagnosis, a prostate, cancer diagnosis. So the man is dying and forced to, deal with a greater good issue and all of the things that come along that could potentially be sacrificed for the greater good. I just thought it was an amazing, sort of moral dilemma to find, our lead actor, and we took great care to shine a light on things that affect our community. A lot of Black men, don't go to the doctor to have these exams, and when we find out, it's too late. Jarrell, why am I drunk? Jarrell Sullivan, who plays David, brilliant young actor, who's part of the, autistic community, and told me point blank, he wants to be, the face of, kids, who, have challenges, expressing themselves, being seen and being heard. Came to us, literally auditioned for the role, and the writer's room saw his audition, and we were like, that's our guy. But we want to shine a light on that. The numbers in our community in particular, among young Black boys, are ticking up. And this is something that, we really need to be, aware of. So again, it was so much more to the power of the vote. And how important it is, who, our elected officials, are. All of these different things, are sort of themes that we wanted to explore while we were telling, this story with 61st Street. I think that when people watch it and all that they can take away from it is, oh my God, it's just hard to watch, and the violence and police corruption. And we've seen this story. And I think that if that's all you took from it, I don't think you really watched it, and I don't think you really paid attention to, what, the underlying things, the supporting theme work, was, with the series. It was a challenge to take it on, but I feel like, we were given an opportunity to say a lot, and a platform from which to do it. Thanks to Christian Jones, Dan McDermott, the team at AMC, for giving us the space to do that. And our incredible writers. And again, just the table being set for us to do what we needed to do.
And Courtney and Andrene, as actors, getting these scripts and seeing where the story is going, were there, what were some of the biggest surprises that came along for you in terms of how the story was progressing, or things that really excited you about, things you were going to get to play?
Andrene, I know you're not gonna have me go first. I know you're gonna give me speak.
And was. I don't know if I was so much surprised as elated that the chemistry with everybody was so great. So as we told the story and we found moments that while we were performing it, not to say that they didn't connect, but the grace that was afforded to us to say, hey, David, this doesn't feel like this. Is this okay? And how everybody, it was so cohesive, like with cast and crew in general, that I felt really good. I felt safe. They felt like family in the moments that I felt most broken performing, if that makes sense. Like it because Norma so strong, but going through so much grief that I could still step outside of that and find joy in the people that I was performing with, because it felt that good. So I don't even say that it's so much the storyline as much as it is having an escape when I came. And I feel like that's isn't that what it looks like in our community anyway, that we have so much on us, but we are still able to find joy. And I think some others are confused by that. Like, how can you be going through this and you still find those moments of happiness? Like I had a group of us after watching it. I had one particular friend was like, we found so much joy in watching Jarrell's character, David, because you saw so much happiness in this kid, even with everything that was going on with him.
Yeah.
And how we are so able to, in all that happens to us, find just that bit of joy. And I felt so much joy in being a part of it, that even how as heavy as it was, I could walk away from it saying I was very proud of the work that I did, the script that I was provided, and the people that I met in the journey.
Oh yeah.
And she bought a place in Chicago and lives there. Has been living there ever since.
Whatever. I left Daniel. I came home. I visited again, but
look, Daniel, my brother, who are younger than me. Daniel, I just have to say that you gone now. I just took you there, didn't I? I have to say, Daniel, that as you can tell, we are a very close bunch of crazy people. But Daniel, I was just, there was a lot on me. There was a lot on me, and it as difficult as it was, I have to say that the joy was my people's.
Yep.
Coming to homework is for home, and so when I didn't have a lot of fun time in those 9 months downtime, because I just had a page count that creeped up. it started to creep up, and Daniel, I'm just gonna talk out of school, or not out of turn, but whatever the phrase is. We had 8 and 9 page. Well, I put it up 9, didn't I?
You sure did. You stacking it.
Examinations, that were, you don't, when you got, that kind of page count, it is, the surprise was that we just had to figure it out. That was the commitment we made when we signed on. So, you know, it just meant that some weekends I spent the weekend in the apartment getting 8 or 9 scenes down. You know, that's just what it was. That's the job. I couldn't, you know, I didn't want to go to set and be, I don't know, this scene. You know, we're gonna have to pause and mess up the day.
Yeah.
So that was my drive, making sure that, you know, I didn't hold us up. You know, as you know, because that the page count was the page count, and Peter just likes 8-page scenes. You know,
I don't know why. I don't know why that number keeps going up, because it was not that many.
But that the surprise was, you know, just how, oh wow, 8 really, Peter. That's it, I'm Peter. That's it. It's 8. Okay. You know, you know, but I as Andrene said, I love being able to go to Peter and David said, Dave, please, baby, please. And can you talk to Peter? And when Peter came back and said, that's my line in the sand.
That's what it is.
Okay. All right.
And it was,
we could laugh about it. You know what I mean, Daniel?
Well, Mr. C,
yes.
It was amazing. I need you to know how amazing it was to witness in person and to watch it on screen. Like, it was like, we sat here because we watch every Sunday. It was me and a group of my friends, a few glasses of wine.
Of course.
Because why not?
That's important. Danny, you ain't gonna get no more questions in here. Just know that.
Hey, but really,
you ain't get no more questions. We got this now.
But really, Daniel, I really, man, the watching them work, right? The crew at times would be so caught up in what was going on in the scene where it was literally like live theater. It really, really was. The first couple of times that Vance ran the opening argument and the closing arguments, those are the ones that stand out, you know, to the most, you know, to me, right? The first couple of times that he ran those things, not only could you hear a pin drop in this room of 200 people standing around doing, you know, their work, their jobs, but at the moment that he was done, just thunderous applause, literally like we were at the theater. That's the litmus test for me. That's when you know, and this is a sampling of people from all walks of life, Black, white, representative of the LGBTQ community, varying politics, you know, just everything. But in those moments, and those are the things that stand out, you know, really the most to me, you know, with the experience. Everybody was all on the same page.
And
right?
you know, that again, that can't happen. That literally can't happen unless Alana, you, and Peter sit down and go, we're gonna do whatever it takes to make sure they can do whatever it takes for them to do. So, I mean, Daniel, it really was from the beginning, from that moment we sat down, David, with Peter at that restaurant that's no longer there because of COVID. Faith and Flower is gone. But the moment we sat down, because, you know, there's so many people that you'll sit down and you talk to them, and, you know, when you're dating, you're on your best behavior. And then when it comes time to the rubber meets the road, they start backing away and hemming. But, you know, we didn't do that. And, you know, I was so, you know, nobody knows what it takes, as Andrene will tell you, what, you know, the showtime, nobody knows how they say a pastor, that's 80 hours for that 1 hour he or she is up there.
Yes.
You know, in prep mode and just sweating and, you know, praying over, you know, just nobody knows the what it takes to get up there and do, you know, it's for somebody to say action, and all of a sudden we're in the middle of something, watching Andrene, and I agree with you, David, watching Andrene and, watching Ingenue, take a piece that she didn't like and rewrite it. And, and we be on the phone with Peter. Peter is not, just, and she's got, no, I don't even, back and forth, and finally come up with something. And boom, that in most shows, it doesn't happen like that. Whatever the showrunner says, that's the end of it, but Peter and David allowed us, and Alana allowed us, and Jeff allowed us the opportunity to come up with something, to make it better and take the chance, because they knew we weren't just doing something just to be doing something to have more screen time. This was about, the ending of the series, Peter and I going back and forth the second season, back and forth about the moment. Peter, no, Peter. Oh, but Courtney, I really think, no, Peter, back and forth and back and forth. Finally, I just said, Peter, shoot it both ways. At least you'll have it, I mean, we literally went for like an hour just talking, but not arguing, just, but this is my point, Peter. Hold on. Let me just say, my point is, and he said, but Courtney, no, but I hear you. But, I just think that, and we were going back and forth, finally, we both said, you may be right, shoot it both ways. And just so you have the choice when the people tell you themselves with them, the what do you call those test screenings, what they like, But as I said, Dan, you ain't getting no more questions in there. Go ahead, Andrene.
No, how amazing the performances were overall. That I know you guys had a hard time editing, because I was like, wait a minute, I didn't see. Wait, hold up. So the fact that the script was done well, the performances were outstanding, that there is still so much footage that was untouched that I'm telling you, I was expecting so much different things to happen, because you kind of know what's gonna, and it didn't come. And I was like, oh, but this, okay, this storyline, all right. I see what y'all doing. This is, it was, we seriously could not have done that without y'all. And I think
I think you don't have that kind of trust in a cast unless you really, two things. One, you really, truly, honestly believe and take their credibility and what they bring to the table into account, because there's a part of you that wants to elevate the material as a writer to say that that's right. And that's an idea that we didn't think about, which opened us up, to that. Courtney says something that I will carry with me, Daniel, from this day forward. He said, David, it's not about being right. It's about it being right? So it's not about the argument of who's going to win. It's about, at whatever we arrive at, this should be right. The bottom line of it should be right. I'll carry that with me, forever, because again, it's not about an argument, especially in a creative space. It's really about what's going to facilitate the scene work and the story. And those were fights that we were really willing to engage in, actively, because everybody wanted the best solution. And I think that's an experience that I haven't had, on a set, before. And it's, for me, going to be the benchmark, for me, in the way that, I'll run a set, moving forward, So again, it's that kind of residual effect of the experience that, you take with you, now, because I think all of us in some way, again, beyond the connection, because we text each other now, all the time with just, stuff. We're literally our own family, now. But it's really about, being better, and elevating, your game, as you leave a project. And I feel better, for 61st Street as an artist, as a creative, I'm a better person. I'm a better writer, because there were actors, you know, who are really good at what they do, you know, challenging, you know, what we had on the page. And it was really about elevating the story, you know, so, yeah.
I'll just say though, to answer your question, Daniel, because as the only person who never put a pen to paper or face on screen, I can compliment this group of people for doing that. What really drew me and Michael and Outlier to the story from day one was really its ambition. And you don't, you know, we read a ton of things and get a ton of incoming material, and to get a script and a project that was trying to do so much, all wrapped up in, you know, what I think is really the thing that's keeping audiences engaged and what is really important storytelling, all wrapped up in a thriller that had to, David and Peter and this group had to service all of these multiple storylines, had to maintain this tension, had to keep you coming back episode to episode, which kudos to everyone here, they did. And also know that the heart and the spirit and the why of why everybody showed up here was to tackle big questions. You know, why is it seemingly okay for police officers to shoot unarmed Black people in America? Why is it not okay as a Black person in America, knowing this, to run away if you're in fear of your life? Why is there a line of people around the corner at this courthouse every day not getting justice? And I think it's an incredible feat of everybody here to both deliver a show that is, you know, it's a weird word to use, but entertaining because of the level of performance and the spirit and the heart that all of these people brought to it, and also manages to invoke and provoke that conversation. So I was reading the scripts, you know, 2-3 years ago, shocked at what happened. And I knew I was in the writers' room when they were breaking the story, and I was shocked. And I think that's really the kind of special sauce of this, is the medicine is hidden a little bit in the food. And so, you know, it's very exciting to have a season 2 that will continue that thriller storyline, and knowing that we left people wanting more, but hopefully also left them wanting to engage in this conversation more.
Absolutely.
I love the medicine and the sauce of it all. I love that.
Yeah.
I love
Special sauce.
the special sauce, lettuce, cheese, pickles, onions.
I'll give Michael B. Jordan gets credit for that. Or as my former colleague used to call it, broccoli tempura. It tastes delicious, but healthy for you.
Okay. I mean, maybe we all should get on the treadmill now and do this thing.
There you go. There you go.
Special sauce of it all. Andrene, am I right?
Yes, it's delicious. Broccoli tempura. Wait a minute.
Broccoli tempura.
Hold up.
I'm gonna,
Hold up.
yeah, I do. Okay. I don't have a treadmill right now to walk on while I'm on camera, but I will partake in a broccoli tempura today.
Perfect.
That's what's up.
Put that on the poster for season 2,
There you go.
61st Street broccoli tempura.
Broccoli
TV.
tempura. Right.
And yeah, I mean, I could listen to the 4 of you talk about the show for literally another 10 hours, but you know, I got to wrap it up. And so I just want to say thank you all for joining me. Congratulations on the show. Looking forward to season 2. And thank you so much also for bringing this conversation to the screen, to audiences during these recent years where we desperately need it. So thank you guys so much.
Hey, Daniel, thank you.
Thank you.